Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Star Wars podcast, Mandalorian breakdowns. I forgot what I was saying there for 1 second. I don't know. Whenever we say breakdowns, I automatically assume Bad Batch because it just rolls off the tongue so beautifully. Bad Batch breakdown, but it's not.
Yeah, Mando doesn't roll off the tongue as much.
Mandalorian. I would say that we have a pretty juicy episode to talk about today. Wouldn't you?
Very juicy. We've ramped up, and I knew this episode was going to be a good one. I knew we were going to have some solid developments, and it did not disappoint. So Star Warsy. Tense, long, by the way. It was like 43 minutes. Amazing. And just fun. Like, cute and fun. Like, Grogu, this is a highlight Grogu episode. And it was just really good adventure. We got some good, like, Clone Wars vibes from it, too. It kind of felt like a Clone Wars episode. It
was very Clone Wars-y in nature, and I talked about this a little bit in my reaction video, but Mandalorian is such a treat for Clone Wars fans because it's rewarding people who watch the Clone Wars with these story threads that they're following.
Yeah.
You know, because all the stuff coming in now with Bo-Katan and Din Djarin and the history of the Mandalorians, like all of that directly ties back to some very specific Clone Wars arcs. And so as a massive Clone Wars fan, it's like this show is just that much more of a treat as opposed to if you're watching it with no prior knowledge. Not to say it's not enjoyable with no prior knowledge of Clone Wars, but if you are a Clone Wars fan, Mandalorian is going to mean that much more to you, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It has all these different Star Wars shows interconnect with one another, and you don't have to have seen them. I mean, but it certainly helps, and it helps enhance the universe a lot more and gives you more appreciation for it. And like Clone Wars and Bad Batch, I say this all the time, but it fills in so many different gaps of like stuff that you're wondering about. I was talking to one of my friends yesterday about it. Like, he hasn't seen all of Bad Batch. He's watched Clone Wars, but he's like, yeah, I just couldn't really get into Bad Batch. There was too many like adventure type episodes and just not enough development. I'm like, yeah, totally, but there's those nuggets within it, similar to Clone Wars, that are they help make the universe feel much more cohesive.
Right.
So I'm like, I recommend you go back and like rewatch some of them. Like, you'll get to some really, really meaty stuff.
Yeah, and it's kind of like how in Clone Wars, you know, you'd have the droid arc. I know we joke about that all the time. The droid arc does expand
Jar
the universe.
Sexcapades arc.
Yeah, whatever that was. I mean, there's a lot of random stuff like that, and you can skip around too. Like there is an opportunity there to skip around in both Clone Wars and Bad Batch. Like, you don't necessarily need to have watched every single episode to get to the stuff that you find particularly enjoyable. But before we jump in,
Star Wars news.
Go ahead. Star Wars news. We do. That's where I was going to.
Welcome to the Star Wars news section of our show.
Star Wars news.
Let's jump in. What do you got?
Well, I feel like this was already kind of not officially confirmed, but I guess it's confirmed now that Patty Jenkins's Rogue Squadron movie has officially been canceled.
Oh no, but what are we gonna do?
This is not surprising to me. I thought this news came out a while ago.
Yeah, you talked about this on the last episode, actually, and I was like, I don't remember it coming out. I remember it being put on hold, but it hadn't been officially shelved, and I think now it is officially shelved. Which
I think Variety
fine
came
with
out
me.
with it.
Yeah.
I think Variety had an article that it was officially shelved because I remembered seeing that on Twitter, but it's not happening anymore. And I gotta be honest, this project was in a slew of many other Star Wars projects that I still don't know what are going to happen or not, because Lucasfilm has this tendency to announce projects and then not do them.
Yeah, they want to get people hyped, so they announce a million different things
too early.
Yeah, I don't love that, to be honest. Marvel does it too, and then they'll announce all these like really niche TV shows or like movies that they're going to come out with, like that expand the universe. That unless you're a total comic book dork, you have no idea what it is.
Yep.
And Disney, I mean, they do the same thing with Star Wars too. So it's like you announce all these different shows to get people hyped, and then they end up not getting made, and so it's just kind of pointless.
Yeah. So I can't exactly say that I'm totally indifferent to this. Like I don't really care because
Yeah.
I don't even really know what it was going to be.
We don't know what it was going to be. Yeah. So it's like.
So I'm unbothered by it.
Yeah, but then they do stuff like announce the Skeleton Crew at Star Wars Celebration last year, and we had no clue what that was even coming out. They announced it, and you're like, oh, this is something I didn't have any clue was even on the agenda, but I'm hyped for it. They have they're filming it, and we know it's happening, you know?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, piece of Star Wars news, apparently Skeleton Crew is going to be interconnected with the Mandalorian somehow with a key character whom you loved from last week. Gorian Shand, I believe his name is. Shard, Pizza the Hut. The plant version of Pizza the Hut, the plant-based Pizza the Hut. Yeah. Yeah. So apparently he's going to be one of the villains in it, along with the pirate. That's one of the rumors that's going around on the interwebs at the moment.
So as far as I understand, is this show just about Jude Law with a bunch of young kids fighting pirates? Because that's how it sounds to me.
Yeah. I found a log line for it.
I don't exactly remember what the panel from Star Wars Celebration last year had on it, or the details on the show. Or was it part of Lucasfilm's studio showcase? I don't think they revealed that much information on it, but as far as I understood, it was just Jude Law and a bunch of kids.
Yeah, the description is Skeleton Crew tells the story of 4 kids who find themselves lost in the vastness of the galaxy trying to find their way home. So they're keeping it close to the chest. Vague description, but it sounds like just an adventure type of series. I mean, love Jude Law. That's a great name to have. Really cool addition to Star Wars. And it seems like that's a really cool way to expand the universe. But they're keeping it pretty close to the chest. And it would make sense that they would introduce some of the characters from that in Mando.
It's going to be Peter Pan in space. Peter Pan and the Lost Boys in space. Jude Law is going to be Peter Pan, and these kids are the Lost Boys, and they're going to fight Gorian Shard, who is Captain Hook.
Maybe. I mean, Jude Law's a little old for that. He's a little old to be Peter Pan.
No, I mean, that's the vibe I get for the show specifically. Like, that's how the show is coming off to me.
Yeah, and they'll be like, Avast, argy matey.
Avast ye, Jude Law.
Yeah. Avast, Mando. Like,
Avast ye, Mandalorian. Anyway, I kind of expected that. So, I mean, I have to imagine that one of the characters from Skeleton Crew will be introduced into the Mandalorian in a similar way. I also really believe that we're going to get Sabine Wren from Star Wars Rebels in Mando at some point this season. I do think she's going to show up, and it's going to, and she's going to be like, hello, I'm here, and now I'm going on hijinks with Ahsoka to go find Ezra Bridger, and we're going to get like a little tease of her. Yeah. So not shocking.
To connect it with Ahsoka a little bit, give some teasers for that.
I think we're going to get a lot of connections.
I agree, but one of the connections we won't get, some more Star Wars news, Bo-Katan reportedly will not be in the Ahsoka show.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
To me,
according to Katie Sackhoff. So,
well, then that's got to be true.
Yeah. So,
or she's lying.
Or she's lying, but that's what she said. I mean, either way, it makes sense. I don't know why you would necessarily need her. Maybe she dies in Mando. I don't know.
Boy, that'd be dramatic, and a little soon, I think.
Yeah. No,
but there is one more piece of Star Wars news. So, Andor is ending with season 2.
Right.
Officially.
Yeah, forgot to cover that last week. That came out while we were recording last week. But yeah. But it makes sense. I mean, you and I talked about this a couple months ago. How far could they go? How many seasons could they really do? It seems like they had that planned out pretty strategically for Andor. So they wanted it to build right up into Rogue One, obviously. And it seems like a smart move. You don't really need much more than 2 seasons unless you're just doing a money grab. So makes sense, but I'm sure season 2 will be a banger. Then I'm sure there'll be some really good, intense episodes, and I'm looking forward to it. Apparently, it leads straight into Rogue One. So awesome! I hope we have that to look forward to. Yeah, that's going to get me hyped to watch Rogue One again. Rogue One was such a pleasant theater experience for me. I was going in with 0 expectations. I had no clue what the movie was going to really be, and I walked out of it being like, "Wow, that was unbelievable. That was amazing." So I'm going to definitely watch that again after Andor. Probably watch it. Yeah, I haven't seen Rogue One in a while. I like that movie. It's a great movie. Watch it again. It's a good movie to watch on a plane.
Oddly specific.
It is. It's a great movie to watch on a plane. Same with Lord of the Rings is great to watch on a plane. You just get any fantasy type movies, sci-fi fantasy type movies are awesome to watch on a plane. Enjoy a nice cocktail. All the lights are off. You can really get immersed in what's going on in the story. You're not distracted by anything. It's because those are essentially movies that are meant to be watched in a theater, and on a plane, it's kind of like your own little personal theater. So that's my little 2 cents on it.
You make it sound so romantic.
It is romantic. I love a good plane beer or 6 and a good plane movie. Last piece of news, by the way, is not really news, but kind of, is that we were just talking about how this Mando episode was 43 minutes long or whatever. Next week, apparently, is going to be the longest one yet at 56 minutes. So that's exciting.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So cut 4 minutes out of that? Maybe 4 or 5. Cut 4 minutes out of that?
Cut 4 minutes for the credits, but I mean, still
52.
Hell yeah, dude. Sign me up. That means it's going to be a banger.
I mean, honestly, the biggest surprise to me about this episode is one, and I guess this could be our segue into our Mandalorian breakdown, but one of the things that surprised me was how quickly and efficiently he got through Mandalore to take a fully clothed bath, by the way, which we're going to talk about. But it was really efficient, and they just went, okay, bam, story point, bam, story point, bam, story point, and now he's technically already taken the bath. So now I'm curious, like, okay, that's done. So where do we go from here? So that's telling me that the rest of the season is pretty much a mystery now.
Which I love, by the way. I love that. I love that we don't know anything about what's going to happen now. That leaves up room for so many fun surprises. And I trust Dave Filoni with my life with Star Wars. And Jon Favreau. They're going to do justice by it. So they got all of our expectations out of the way in the first 2 episodes. And now it's like, okay, how are you going to explore this? Where's the creativity going to come in? What are you going to do next? And I love that.
Yeah. I just think that because now we got through that plot point maybe a little bit faster than people were expecting, that now anything's open game. We're not entirely sure what the general premise is going to be. So, I mean, we have some teases here and there, but for the most part, it's in the dark for us as viewers.
Literally no idea where we're going to go from here on out, which is, that's on purpose. I think they did a little misdirection. They made us think that he's going to go to the mines of Mandalore, and he did in the first 2 episodes. And we have 6 episodes left. So it could be an interesting next 6 episodes for us. Anything can happen. Boba Fett's going to come in at some point. I think we're going to see Ahsoka at some point. Maybe Sabine, like you said. But either way, give me the surprises, baby. I want to be shocked and awed.
Speaking of, we left out one more piece of Star Wars news. It's a kind of a loaded week for Star Wars news, and this might be the biggest piece of news. Rumor has it that Ahsoka has been pushed back to late summer of this year.
Ew. Why?
Ew.
Wait, I thought it was August.
Of this year?
Yeah, I thought wasn't that the release date?
No, that wasn't the initial release date. The initial release date was mid-fall. I believe that was the original release date.
Oh, so it got moved up.
It got moved up. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, then great. That's awesome. I thought it was going to be end of summer anyways, but maybe I just had my wires crossed. But I was already under that impression that it was going to be like July or August.
It was slated for the fall, I believe. I believe it was around November. I don't quote me on any of this. I don't know exactly for sure, but I saw this going around the other day that now it's going to apparently be the end of summer.
Interesting. Well, that's good news then. All right. Got a lot more Star Wars content to
Well, that show's going to be
watch.
crazy.
So if you guys want to watch our breakdowns with it and our reaction videos to it, you got to make sure to click like and subscribe and click the notification bell so you are aware of when our show comes out. And comment and tell us how much you love the show and all that stuff so we can grow the channel. Right, Melissa?
Right, Matt.
Great. Well, should we jump into the episode breakdown?
Let's just get straight into it.
Awesome.
Let's be as efficient as Mando was with its time here.
Let's be very efficient. This episode is titled The Mines of Mandalore. It is chapter 18? Chapter 18.
Yes.
Mines of Mandalore. This is written by Jon Favreau, directed by Rachel Morrison. Running
She
time
did a great job.
40-something
Just shout
minutes.
out to her.
Great job. Really good directing. And great pacing throughout the episode. I thought a lot of really good creative choices here, which we can get into later. Some really, really solid Star Wars-y creative choices. So we open up on the planet of Tatooine. Great. Love Tatooine. It's Bunta Eve, which we've heard before, but I don't know if everyone knows this. I didn't know. I looked it up. Bunta Eve is an annual holiday and festival celebrated on the desert planet of Tatooine during the last decades of the Old Republic and the time of the New Republic. It honored the rise of Bunta Hastilic Shadru to godhood. And in Mos Eisley, it's celebrated with fireworks. So it's kind of like a Star Wars Mardi Gras or something.
Well, Anakin also brings it up in The Phantom Menace. He goes, there's a big pod race tomorrow in Bunta Eve.
Oh, is Bunta Eve a place?
Yeah, I believe it is. And I'm like sub-quoting here. I don't know if that's the exact quote, but he says that at the dinner table.
The Bunta Eve Classic. That is an annual pod race and cultural event on Tatooine held at the Grand Arena in Mos Espa.
There's a big
it's held
race tomorrow.
So here's the thing: it's made. The Hutt clan holds the event to commemorate the holiday of Bunta Eve. So there you go. Fun fact for you.
Yes, call back to The Phantom Menace. Love to see it.
Call back to The Phantom Menace. Everyone's celebrating with fireworks. We get to see Peli again, Amy Sedaris' character. She is talking to a Rodian about fixing the speeder. He points out there's a lot of parts missing, blah, blah, blah. She's putting a rush on it, negotiating with this guy. The guy leaves, the Rodian leaves, the little Greedo-looking guy leaves, and she calls out some Jawas, and we find out she's been running a scam with them. They're stealing parts from the speeders, and then she's repairing them for him and selling them back. Not very ethical on Peli's part, but
it is Tatooine, dude.
Yeah, look, you got to do what you got to do to make a buck, I suppose. But we don't know. This Rodian guy, whatever, Greedo-looking character, he might be a hardworking father of 5, and he just needs a speeder to get to and from the cantina every day. We don't know.
Look, Tatooine is a wretched hive of scum and villainy. So.
It's true, and I guess Amy Sedaris is part of it. Peli is not a...
Is she the wretched hive, or is she the scum or villainy?
She's kind of all of them. You're kind of scummy if you're running a scam like that. So, yeah, she's running a scam. As she's repairing it, talking with these Jawas, we see Din Djarin arrive in his cool N1 Starfighter. She's talking about how good it looks. It's purring like a kitty or whatever she says. And then she asks where little baby Grogu is, and he pops his head above the cockpit. Super cute Grogu moment here as he jumps into his little auntie's arms, having a nice little joyous reunion. Din, being as charming as ever, is being very monotone, saying he's here for business, looking for a part for his IG unit. He needs a memory circuit. She's like, nope, we're not going to find that. That's not going to happen. But instead, you should buy the R5 astromech droid, which, cool, we get R5-D4 back, which I'm sure most of our viewers know this. But in case you don't, R5 is the astromech droid that we first see in A New Hope, who the Jawas are trying to sell to Owen. And the Lars is on their moisture farm, and he actually explodes. They're about to buy him, but then he explodes. So he's been in the original trilogy. Luke Skywalker calls him Red.
I'm glad you cleared that up, because I had a moment when I was watching the episode, and I was like, I feel like I know who this droid is, but it's just not ringing any bells. So thank you for clearing that up. So he is in A New Hope. Well, there you go.
Yeah, he's in A New Hope. Also, fun fact, I had him as an action figure. They've sold every character on Star Wars as action figures since forever. Which, by the way, it's a testament to how powerful Star Wars was as a franchise, even in the 90s, before the prequels had come out, and well after the original trilogy had come out. You could go to Target or Walmart, and there'd be Star Wars guys everywhere. Like, it was well after the movies had come out. Like, that's pretty impressive.
So have you ever seen... have you ever seen the Toys That Made Us documentary on Netflix?
Yes.
Okay, so they did an episode on the Star Wars action figures, and they talk about how Star Wars was groundbreaking for toys because of how much it sold. Like, it was shocking in the 70s and 80s.
That's
because
actually
of the
also
fan
what
response to it.
That's also what made George Lucas a majority of his money. He had the famous licensing deal on his toys, and because he believed in them, and he made a killing off of it. I'm sure. I mean, making toys off of a movie, I think that they're more profitable than the movie themselves. So a lot of these times, people will see some crappy kids movie come out, some animated movie, and people are like, "Why'd they make it? It's not even that good." They're not making it to make it a good movie. They're making it for the merchandise. Same thing with like,
Frozen.
Yeah, Frozen or Minions. When they have the Minions in Despicable Me, they managed to make toys for that. And then the toys were so successful, like, oh, kids clearly love this, and boomer moms on Facebook love making memes with the Minions. So we'll make some more movies. But yeah, it's an interesting world, I would say.
I do recommend that documentary if you're ever interested in watching it. It's just very interesting insight.
I haven't seen the full thing, but we have watched, because it's in episodes, right? There's multiple episodes.
Yeah, the Star Wars episode is very interesting.
And also, fun fact, I had R5D4 as a toy. My grandma got him for me or something, and I never ended up getting an R2D2 toy, so I would just pretend that R5 was R2D2. Fun fact. And also,
I feel like we did that a lot when we were kids.
You had to. And there was a button you could press where he would explode open, just like he does in A New Hope. So, fun fact. So, anyways, Din ends up accepting him because she sells it to him at half price and a free oil bath. Very kind of her. They leave. They immediately go to Mandalore. They're not wasting any time. Din is being a dad to Grogu, obviously very cute, saying that it looks scary, but it was once beautiful. Back when the songs of Mandalore were written, talking about the different moons of Concordia, the Mandalorian Beskar mines, and then is it Kalevala or Kalevala? Is that where Bo-Katan lives?
I don't know, but I'm going to give you a fun fact here really quick. So Din mentions that he was raised on Concordia, which is Mandalore's moon, and we first saw Concordia in the Clone Wars Season 2 in the first arc with Obi-Wan and Satine. And that's actually where Pre Vizsla, who is played by Jon Favreau, is concocting his little plan with Death Watch to retake over the Mandalorian throne. So Concordia is largely known as the Death Watch planet, so it makes sense that Din Djarin is from there, given the fact that he was a foundling. He was a Death Watch foundling. So
that is interesting. Again, this is why watching Clone Wars is good,
relevant,
and fun and relevant. Yeah, because you have all this context behind it while you're watching the show that you wouldn't have had otherwise. And by the way, that is a great arc with Pre Vizsla.
So good,
really, really good. And yeah, Jon Favreau voices him. So fun fact there.
I love
he has a fun little life. and end to his life.
Yeah. Pre Vizsla's got a interesting arc. You know what I love?
Super
is
interesting,
I
dude.
can't
and
remember.
Also brutal.
Absolutely brutal. And I can't remember if they've done this in Mandalorian season 1 or 2, but one of my favorite things about the Clone Wars is the Death Watch theme music. I don't know if you remember what I'm talking about, but it goes dun 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 dun
right.
dun. And I'm almost waiting for them to bring that into Mando in some way. I don't think that they've done it before, but I would just love to hear a variation of the Death Watch theme in this show. Like, that'd be so cool, especially because Bo-Katan was in Death Watch.
Oh, right.
So there's an opportunity there.
Super big opportunity. We'll see if they do it. They might. We never know. The mystery awaits us because we don't know what's going to happen after this episode now. All right, so they descend through the atmosphere of Mandalore, and it's obviously stormy and whatnot. They break through the clouds, and we see that the Empire really did a number during their Great Purge of Mandalore. There's all that Trinitite, the glass stuff. The magnetic field is disrupted, is what they say, so they can't make any communication outside of the atmosphere. So kind of sucks if you lived on Mandalore. You got blasted into oblivion. They land into a clearing surrounded by the Trinitite. Din asks R5 to go scout ahead. Grogu's being very cute here. He's obviously concerned for his new friend. And R5 falls off the radar, and Din has to get out and go find him. So he pressurizes his helmet, leaves little baby Grogu in there, and walks into this cave. sees the underground city, which really cool shot here. Super cool graphic effects, super cool production. Very creepy vibes. I love the way they built Mandalore, both the ruins. You really feel like you're there. They really immerse you. It just felt Star Warsy. I don't know how else to describe it. Like it's just that word, Star Warsy. Like there with Andor. Sorry, I got to use Andor as an example, but like there were some planets they were on in Andor, like where he's from. It just didn't feel 100% Star Warsy at times. And I don't know what it was. The way they built out Mandalore here and like the ruins of this city were just very, very cool. I also got some like Jedi Fallen Order types of vibes. I'm forgetting the planet that he's on. Why am I blanking on?
I know which one you're talking about, but the one where he's walking through and he's kind of going through his trial with like he's being haunted by his master. Is that the planet that you're talking about?
I think so. Yeah.
I don't know the name of that planet at the top.
Either way, I get those vibes from this. It was really, really, really cool. It's super creepy. Like obviously a really desolate, deserted planet. Sees the underground city, and then he's attacked by 3 Alamites, or Morlocks, as I would call them, with clubs. These things are terrifying. They look just like Morlocks from the Time Machine, the 2002 version. I don't know if you got onto that as well.
I've never seen the movie, but I've read the book, but I did not catch on to that on my first watch.
Yeah, that movie's terrifying. That book, The Time Machine, I don't want to get too
It's a good book.
It's an awesome book. It's one of my favorite. H.G. Wells, I believe, is who wrote that.
Did he also write War of the Worlds? Was that him too?
Yeah, and Journey to the Center of the Earth as well.
Yeah, War of the Worlds scared the bejesus out of me as a kid.
Same. So these Morlocks terrified me when I read The Time Machine. And we used to have the Great Illustrated Classics version, and they had creepy pictures of the Morlocks in there. And I was so scared of Morlocks after that there was one night I went to the bathroom and it was like 3 a.m. and I was probably like 7-ish, maybe 6 or 7. And after I peed, I was so scared of Morlocks being in my... Because you remember in Mom and Dad's room, right? They'd sleep with their door open, which was kind of psychotic. I don't know why they slept with their door open. It's so weird. And it was a long, dark hallway into their room. It was terrifying.
Yeah.
And I would look into their room and I thought there was going to be Morlocks in there. So I ended up hiding in the bathroom for like 2 hours until I finally mustered up the courage to open the door and sprint to my room and get back in bed.
You
so
coward.
That's a little funny. Hey, dude, I was like 6, okay? Cut me some slack. And hey, that's not a coward. I mustered up the courage. I didn't sit in the bathroom all night.
Did you catch up of the courage?
Shush.
I have to return the joke. You
That
mustered up the
thing.
courage.
I didn't mustered. Yeah, I guess I did. Okay, that was
I got you.
Hey,
I
that's good.
saw my opportunity and
But
I
look,
took it.
here's the difference. I'm not going to shame your joke. I think that's a funny joke, dude. That's a great joke. And unlike you, I'm not going to shame you for it like you shamed me. You hate my jokes. You hate my awesome dad jokes. All right. So Morlocks. Alamites is what they call them in this universe. Terrifying. So scary looking.
Great prosthetics, too.
Super good prosthetics. Love the effects here. Love the fight scene here. They attack him with clubs, try to get him to drop his blaster. These creepy things are just living in there. He pulls out the Darksaber and starts fighting them. And we see Din's not great with the Darksaber. He still hasn't figured it out. It's clunky. It's heavy. There's no flow with it, really. It's kind of awkward. It's a powerful weapon, so he's able to win, but he's still not great with it.
I love that he still sucks.
Yeah.
I love that he didn't have one lesson and then he was magically good at it.
Right.
You know?
I think that's important. Because he's a badass, right? We know Mando's badass, but it's also important to have those moments of him being imperfect. You can't just have this guy where you never worry about him. Otherwise, it's not an interesting story. It's not an interesting character. It's not an interesting plot for the show. He's got to be fallible in some way. And right now, one of his biggest weaknesses is A, being addicted to this cult, but B, he's clumsy with this weapon. Very clumsy.
So I have to ask the question, is Bo going to train him further on that? I
think we should save that question for a little later on.
But I think it's something worth thinking about because there's only a designated few people that still know how to wield this weapon.
Right.
And Bo's one of them.
Correct. So I think let's hold that thought until a couple scenes from now, and we can revisit.
Sure, that's fair.
Because I think that's a very good question to ask. After he defeats him, he finds R5 under some rocks. Poor little guy. he didn't ask for this. He didn't want to go on this adventure. I get the vibe from that droid. He's like, ugh, I got to go do the scouting. Then he gets pummeled into the rocks by these Morlocks. And he's
Poor
just
thing.
not having it. So he receives the atmospheric readings. He sees the air is breathable and realizes that Bo-Katan was right. And Mandalore is not, in fact, cursed. Although that's kind of debatable. It looks kind of like a bit of a shithole, pardon my French.
Doesn't look great.
So
Let's put it that way.
he gets Grogu out and makes another questionable decision here as he decides to bring Grogu with him into the cave.
I mean,
bring
what
the little
what-
baby with him?
I mean, what's the alternative? Just leave him in the
Leave
ship?
him in the
What-
ship? Yeah.
What if something happened?
Well, it wouldn't have. Less would have happened if he left him in the ship. Actually, it
Okay,
was beneficial for him to bring him.
Yes, I was going to say, if he didn't bring Grogu, he'd be dead. So.
Okay. So fair enough. All right. Grogu saves him. He tells Grogu that they're in the Civic Center, which again I think is a hilarious name for it. I feel like it's like the town square. We're in the Civic Center.
The city of Sundari.
Cool scene here as he uses his jetpack and Grogu's in his little floating baby pram thing. they float
So
down.
cute.
Very
I love the way
creepy
he
vibes
jumped
here.
off the edge and he goes,
Yeah.
and then you have the jetpack sound effect.
Awesome jetpack, awesome cinematography, awesome design here with the mangled ruins of these buildings. Mines of Moria vibes. I'm telling you, this is Mines of
Yep.
Moria vibes, and a lot of callbacks to that too. I forget. Bo-Katan even says a line. Maybe we'll get to it later on. She says some kind of line. Oh, she says it's a tomb. It's not a. It's no longer the mines. It's like a tomb or something, which is exactly what they say in Lord of the Rings. Boromir says it's a tomb when they're in the Mines of Moria. But that's the feeling I get in here too. Super creepy looking, but awesome design. They go past the wells, water pipes, land at the bottom of the building. They see all these creepy creatures looking at them. Grogu's being cute and a little bit scared. And then we have an interesting moment here as Din looks under his feet and finds an old Mandalorian helmet, which was, I don't know if you noticed this, it was a completely white Mandalorian helmet, which made me think maybe they're paying homage to the original Boba Fett costume prototype.
Possibly.
Did you see that?
It just looked really dusty to me. I wasn't
Yeah.
particularly paying attention to the color or maybe any markings on it that may or may not have been on it.
Yeah. I think it was maybe just like here's a cool white Mandalorian helmet. But then as he's looking at it, he gets captured by a big mechanical crab in a very jump scary type moment.
By the way, that came out of nowhere. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
all right, okay.
Yeah, caught me by surprise 100%. Creepy looking thing. We see that this place is much more alive than previously thought, which I thought was an interesting choice. You know, we have these creepy Morlocks who are in there. We have this big giant crab thing. There's clearly creatures there, which to me is like so scary. Like to know that there's all these creatures around living in the ruins. Like it just built up the vibe of the place and it amped up the creepiness and scariness of it by a lot.
Yeah, it did.
So Grogu's watching from the shadows. Luckily, he was behind enough before Din got put in his little rotisserie chicken spit roast thing.
Definitely thought that's what was happening.
Yeah, I did too. I thought he was gonna like boil him alive or something. Love the creativity though here. All of this stuff, like throughout the episode, this is one thing that really stood out to me is just the creativity behind all this was amazing. And that's what makes Star Wars Star Wars. I remember being a kid and watching A New Hope for the first time. I remember that feeling I had. This is part of the reason I love Star Wars. I remember the feeling I had when I watched A New Hope for the first time. And I remember feeling it was like, this is so weird. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. And I think what that feeling was just knowing that it's so creative. It's not within my wheelhouse. I was young. I was probably 7 or 8 maybe when I saw it for the first time. And that's, I think, such an integral part of what Star Wars is having these, having this amount of creativity. And I think this episode really thrived in that. And maybe that's why it made it feel so Star Wars-y, but like just the way the crab thing walked and moved around and the way these creatures looked, like, you know, the Alamites and the way Mandalore looked. It was just, I think they just did an excellent job, like integrating everything. None of it felt forced. It all just felt very natural. I was just picturing them in a writer's room. You're like, what would an abandoned Mandalore look like? You know what I mean? And they're just like
yeah.
spitballing ideas. So I don't know. That really stuck out to me.
Well, I think a lot of this plays into the fact that you can really see George Lucas's influence here still.
100%.
It feels very much in line with his vision, like that little mechanical creature that captures Din, and you know how it rises out of its machine and that has that spear and it's walking around. Like that to me felt like they pulled that directly from Revenge of the Sith. That feels like something that George Lucas would have conceptualized when he was working on Revenge of the Sith. And I think that's what's contributing to the Star Warsiness of it for you and also me, of course. But things like that really take you back to that nostalgic feeling that you have for Star Wars as a kid. Like, I can't describe the effect that Revenge of the Sith has on me. Revenge of the Sith gives me a very specific feeling and a very specific vibe when I watch that movie that I'm so fond of, and it's very special. And you can see it captured in these little scenes in The Mandalorian where it's like, oh, that's it. That's the feeling. That's the notion I had when I was 7 years old. And so I really do agree with you. You can really see all that influence there. But I also think it's just Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau's respect for the franchise showing through.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's the right word, but it really
no,
feels
that's definitely what it
me.
is. They're staying true to what that tonality of Star Wars is, and a lot of that comes from the creativity, like I mentioned. And you're totally right. It did have that George Lucas feeling. This creature that comes out super scary with that eye, that eye's peeking out. Super cool there. This creature comes out, it's all gangly, it has all these limbs and the spines, and it kind of gave off like a Geonosian kind of vibe. I don't know if you felt the same way.
Yeah, with a little bit of General Grievous mixed in.
Yeah, kind of, exactly. So, like, it's just the creative choice of making the creature look like that is Star Warsy in and of itself.
Yeah.
Grogu was watching. He approaches Din in a very cute way, making a lot of cute baby panting noises.
He's so cute.
He's so cute, it's ridiculous. And then he attempts to free him with the Force. Really cute. Not quite strong enough yet, though. And he alerts this creepy creature. And Din mentions in a weak voice, clearly got really banged up by this rotisserie thing. Tells him to go get Bo-Katan. The creature tries to electrocute Grogu, but he is using his awesome Jedi Force powers to get back to his pram and speed off to the surface. I thought this was great. They're really Grogu can't talk, but they're developing his character in such an interesting way. You can tell he's learning. He went with Luke. He learned through the Force. He learned how to jump, and he's gaining courage and stuff. And I just think that's interesting. Like, that's a hard thing to do for a character that doesn't speak, but you can feel it,
I do want to bring up something when we get done going through this episode that I want to ask you about, because it has me raising my eyebrow a little bit in regard to Grogu's character. But we can bring that up at the end. Don't let me forget.
All right, write it down. Don't forget. Grogu's getting brave. He gets to the top, dodges the creatures that are trying to lunge at him to eat him for lunch, and he's met at the mouth of the cave by an Alamite. We saw this in the trailer. We knew it was going to happen. He makes quick work of the Morlock and pushes him away. Force pushes him away. Very cool moment here. Grogu gets in the ship and is on his way to Bo-Katan. As he gets to Bo-Katan's cool, awesome castle, she's just pouting her ass off, dude.
Yeah.
So unbelievably bitter, Bo-Katan, dude. And for no reason. She's mad at Din because of her own issues. Din's just an innocent bystander here. He happened to get the Darksaber by accident. He didn't even mean to.
Which, by the way, he attempted to offer it to her. So
yeah,
that should tell you of his feelings.
She's accusing him of being in a cult, but she's obeying the same stupid rules. Like, I can only win it in a battle. No, just take it if you want it so bad. If you're going to skulk around and sit in your throne all day, get over yourself, dude.
Yeah, she is. She's moping a bit.
She's so mopey. She's like a mopey teenager. How old is she at this point, by the way? In her 40s, maybe?
I don't know. And everybody's been debating that on Twitter right now. And we're trying to currently figure that out because logically, I thought that she was in the Clone Wars. I thought that she was just a little bit younger than Obi-Wan and Satine. I didn't know by how much, but now I'm under the impression.
I thought she was pretty young. I thought she was like 20.
Well, she might be. I don't know. They've never confirmed this because Satine and Obi-Wan. How old was Anakin? Or not Anakin? Excuse me. Was Obi-Wan like 35 when Anakin turned? Because Anakin was 22, I think.
23, I think, but yeah.
He was 22 or 23, which means Obi-Wan had to be like 35.
Obi-Wan would have. Well, let's work backwards. Anakin
Obi-Wan was
what,
25
8?
in Revenge of the Sith. Phantom Menace.
8.
No, he wasn't. Really? I thought he would have been like 21.
No, Obi-Wan's 25 in The Phantom Menace.
Really? Mm-hmm. Okay, so he's 25 in The Phantom Menace, and then 10 years go by, he's 35 in The Clone Wars. Right?
Yes, he's 35 in The Clone Wars. I just looked it up. He was definitely 25 in The Phantom Menace, which means he's 35 in the
Clone Wars.
during the Clone Wars, which means he was probably around 37 when
probably
Anakin
closer
turned.
To 40. Then Anakin turns, and then it's been, what, 30 years? So then he's like 70 in A New Hope, right?
Like mid-60s, I think. Mid-60s in A New
He's
Hope.
looking old for a mid-60s.
Hey, he was on Tatooine and did not do things for his skin. Anyway, I digress. My point being is if Bo-Katan is, what, 15 years younger? Wouldn't that make her like 25, 24 by the point in the Clone Wars? Is that correct?
Yeah, I always thought she was like 21 to 23 in the Clone Wars. Like, I thought she was really young, but I could be totally wrong. Which would make sense, though, because if in the Clone Wars it's like, what, 20 years later from Clone Wars to
Yeah, that means she'd
now,
be in her
so
40s.
She'd be like 40s, yeah, which makes sense, I think, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. I have to imagine she doesn't look quite that young to be early 20s in the Clone Wars, but then again, I don't know. We don't have much to go off of. If I were to guess, I would have said that she was 24 or 25 when the Siege of Mandalore happened. So if that's the case, then her age range of 40 would make the most sense, I think, in this timeline right now. Which...
Yeah, people are saying
Wait a
best
minute.
guess. People saying best guess is early 20s in the Clone Wars series. Yeah, and then 30 years later in the Mandalorian. Well, no, it's 30 years later.
Why was she giving Din shit about, oh, where were you when all this was happening? I'm like, dude, you were probably around his same age.
Dude, she's
Remember,
so bitter. She's so bitter.
She's just giving him all this shit. Anyway, okay, so she's got to be in her 40s. Is Mando in his 40s or late 30s?
I would imagine late 30s, early 40s-ish. We don't know,
because
though. We have no idea.
He was a child. No, he's so much younger than her, dude. Because he was a child during the Clone Wars. Remember the flashback with him and the droids?
Yeah, but we don't know
Death
when in
Watch?
the Clone Wars that was. That could have been even a little bit before the Clone Wars. Because they have the battle droids, battle troopers, whatever they're called. Super battle droids, my bad.
The ones that Dooku uses.
Yeah, whatever. So that could have been any time period. We don't really know. That could have been around Phantom Menace time period. That could have been around Clone Wars. And that's two very different time periods. So we don't really know.
Okay, so they're similar in age. We just don't know how close. It could be a 5-year difference. They could be the same age. We don't know. But Bo being in her 40s makes the most sense, I think.
They're saying
and it explains why she looks
people
so
are
darn good.
People are guessing around 40, which I would guess that too. I'd say late 30s, early 40s. That's what I would assume.
Yeah.
Anyways.
And Bo's definitely in her 40s.
Yeah, and she's
45.
She acts like she's 17. So back to the story. She sees the fighter through the throne room. She says, "Let's get rid of him once and for all." What are you gonna do? Shoot him? Like, what's her deal here?
No, she's just angry. She's just kind of given up, I think.
Yeah, it was like, come on, Bo, get a grip. Either way, she redeems herself a little bit here. So she sees Grogu, asks what happened. He's babbling, so she decides to go help. By the way, Bo-Katan's
nice.
ship, super nice of her. But I mean, she has to. What choice does she have? Like, she doesn't want to.
She's probably like, I need the dark saber.
She's gonna have to deal with Grogu then.
Yeah.
She's gonna have to deal with Grogu then, and yeah, probably wants the dark saber. 100%, that's what it is. Also, dude, her ship is sick. Her ship is awesome.
That's the same ship that she was flying in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, the way they conceptualized it here, awesome. I want that ship. It looks spacious. Cool. The way it lands is really cool.
It's sexy.
Really it's super sexy. Also, dude, Bo-Katan's kind of sexy. She's got her cool. She's strutting around in her little armor, looking good for mid 40s. Gotta say, Bo-Katan. She looks great. She flies away with Grogu and R5. Do you think she visited Mandalore like recently? Like, how often do you think she goes back?
No. I think her character, and this is something that we can talk about, I think her character is getting very, very complex, and I think she's feeling a lot of regret since her days as a Death Watch person. I imagine that. I mean, was she on Mandalore when the Great Purge happened? I guess that's a good question. You know, because everybody talks about the Night of 1,000 Tears. And now it was this big dramatic thing where the Empire came in and bombed them. So did she witness that, or did she just hear of it happening? So, I mean,
could have escaped.
I have to imagine that.
Maybe probably knew it was coming and left or something. She's kind of a badass. I could see her.
Yeah, so I don't think this is like the first time she's seeing the city destroyed. I just think it's painful for her to come back and be like, oh my God, this was once a beautiful place.
It's cathartic for her to go back. She's getting closure, maybe. So it's good for her. They go to the cave, see the ruins of Sundari, telling Grogu about how they once ruled it, although now it has become a tomb. There's the line I was talking about. She descends to the floor with her cool jetpack. These Mandalorian jetpacks are awesome. Grogu follows. He starts leading her along the way, and they start having a nice little moment here. She says, I knew some Jedi. Cool little reference, Clone Wars-y reference here. Mm-hmm. She's saying Jedi and Mandalorians once got along well. And she asked how skilled he was. He is with the Force. He must be good if he found his way to her. Love this moment. I thought this was great. Again, this is why watching Clone Wars is fantastic for Star Wars. They hear a noise. Grogu's obviously really scared. She has really good instinct here and sees these... starts firing at this thing in the ceiling, and then those Morlocks fall out. I don't know what was going on up there, but they're all like clustered together, and she just starts blasting, and then just makes quick work of them, kills them pretty quickly.
Danny DeVito meme. So anyway, I started blasting.
She did. She goes, "Did you think your dad was the only Mandalorian?" Cute reference. So cute reference here. I'm sure you loved that.
So precious. Badass line on her part.
Yeah. Also, I couldn't upload my video for the longest time because of that line. I had to edit it out of my reaction video.
Oh, that was the one that was copywriting you? Are you kidding me?
Well, because it's from the trailer, and I'm sure everyone was re-uploading the trailer, so it's just they were being really strict about it. She gives us some context for the Morlocks, the Alamites, and says they once lived on the surface in the wastelands. They were able to endure the purge, and so they're taking over this land again. Love this. It's just a quick line about these creepy little things that live there now. Mm-hmm. Helps build the world. Love it. And she's wondering what else. She gives some cool foreshadowing here and says, I wonder what else survived.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing. Meanwhile, this creepy creature that has Din hooked up to a small droid, really dark, scary Saw vibes here as it like stabs him with that little needle thing and starts sucking his blood out.
More like pumping.
Yeah, pump. Dude. This was great. I love this. It's a tiny bit of grittiness, but it adds such a nice edge to Star Wars. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I thought this was awesome. It's not too violent, nothing like that. It's just like, oh, that's creepy and weird. Why is he harvesting his blood?
Yeah. Yeah. And it adds to the universe. Like we always talk about these tiny
like what is this thing doing? Now I'm curious about
building.
This character. I'm curious about this character now. What is that thing? Why is it harvesting his blood? What does he need it for? You know? It's just really creepy.
Yeah, so, I can barely handle getting my own blood drawn. I just...
Oh, I know. Same. Ugh. It's taking a lot. The tube's pretty big.
Yeah.
So Bo-Katan shoots the pump droid. Creature gets her multiple times. But then, as they're fighting, she has the moment she's been waiting for her whole life, or at least for the last 15, 20 years, where she manages to grab the Darksaber from where the creature threw it on the ground. And starts fighting it with the Darksaber and those cool little shields that the Mandalorians have.
I love that they brought that back.
Love that they brought that back. And she is so good with the Darksaber. Very clear difference here between the way she's handling it to fight this thing versus how he handled it earlier to fight the Morlocks. It's natural with her. She's like born to do this kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And as we know, it's not the easiest weapon to wield, I guess we could say.
Yeah, she's had training. She knows how to deal with it because she had it for a brief time in Star Wars Rebels after Sabine gave it to her, which was bizarre. But it was really cool to see them highlight the very obvious difference between Din and Bo, which we got to talk about. Is she going to teach him because she has the knowledge, or would she teach him?
So
because she's kind of been a pouty McPowderson.
Right, but and as we'll see in later scenes here, you can see she starts kind of coming around to Din. She kind of respects him.
Yeah, she's warming up.
She doesn't agree with him necessarily, but respects him, his devotion to this creed, this cult that he's in. Mm-hmm. And he does have like a code of honor. Like he lives his life a very certain way, and you can tell she starts to respect that a bit. When he's hurt, we'll get to that scene in a bit. She's feeling bad for him, and she starts coming around to him. Maybe she's developing a little bit of a crush on him. Maybe she did want him to get naked in the waters of bathingness.
I'm not a fan of where this is going. I am not a bin / Do-Katan shipper.
Do-Kajaran.
Do-Kajaran. I am not a Do-Kajaran shipper.
Do-Kajaran. I don't know. Could work, but she is. She's coming around, and I think that they did kind of foreshadow that a little bit. She might, and they might become better friends now. She's clearly that's a good character point. She's a little lukewarm on him. She's kind of coming around. She knows how to wield it. He sees that she knows how to wield it. I think we might see some more of that in later episodes. I think
because when we get to the next few scenes where they start to talk, you can see that Din starts to respect her a little bit too.
Yeah, 100%. They start to respect each other.
So Bo rescues him.
This creepy little creature is a stinker, and she didn't kill it all the way. It crawls back to its little crab thing. Awesome fight sequence here. This was just a really fun scene. She gets him out of the rotisserie cage, hacks it into pieces, and then she sets up a fire, and they start bonding like we talked about. She makes a powdered soup, pog soup, by the way. I don't know where she got dead pogs from in the Mines of Mandalore. I don't know how
Maybe she had some in her pockets.
Pog soup. She might have, but that's also weird to think about. She had pog meat in her little Mandalorian crevices the whole time.
I don't know. Hunters shot deer and carried meat with them, so maybe it's something like that.
It could be, I guess. See, I don't know how you fit it in the crevices of your armor, but
bring pog soup to Galaxy's Edge.
Do it. I would eat that. Hell yeah. He's feeling rough. You can tell he had his blood sucked out. He probably has a concussion. Says thank you for saving my life. She tells him that Grogu helped find him. He says, yeah, Mandalore wasn't cursed. You were right. And then she's like, well, is it right? Because there's nothing really left here. She says she ruled here once, but there's nothing for her to cling to. Again, the pog soup comes out, but she finds it ironic. He's never had it before. She says he should rest, and he's like, no, I gotta go bathe. That's my mission here. I gotta go to the Mines of Moria to get in the living waters and redeem myself. You can tell she starts to respect him more. She's like, okay, fine. She says there's nothing magical. I don't know why you're going there. He says, well, without the creed, what do we stand for? He credits the creed with ensuring the survival of the Mandalorian people. Okay, fair point here. I want to get your thoughts. Fair point. Maybe it's because they survived here. But you're never going to convince me that this cult is cool. It's weird, okay? It's weird. Do you think it would have survived without this creed? I think they would have been fine.
Yeah, I think they would have. I mean, it just depends on... Well, I guess the argument is... Because then Bo brings this up in the following scene. She's like, what kills me is that our people are fighting against each other. She says a line somewhere like that. The way I took that line was... We're not all clinging to the same beliefs, and we need to if our civilization is going to survive. That's the way I took that line. You know, everybody being on the same path. And then Din's like, our people are scattered like stars in the galaxy. And I'm like, well, you don't all believe the same thing. I do think you all can survive, but I think Bo was on a page of everybody, we all need to be on the same page. Like we can't be fighting against each other because we'll just kill ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. As I walk through the ruins together, he said it's difficult to imagine the city being filled with Mandalorians. It wasn't that long ago, but the Empire sought to wipe away their memory as punishment. He says it must be painful to see the city in ruins. Good dialogue here, really good dialogue as they're walking through. Beautiful set design and all that stuff too. I don't know if they shot it in the volume or what was done here, but it just looks amazing. A lot of Mines of Moria vibes as well, looking like they're walking to the bridge of Khazad-dûm. They reach a gate in a much older part of the city. Bo says that she's been to the Living Waters before as a child, and she starts bragging about how she was a member of the royal family. Like, as a member of the royal family, we had to take the Mandalorian tenants publicly.
So she did. She took the creed. She took the creed as a spectacle rather than as a serious thing.
Yeah, you can tell she never bought into it. She just did it because she felt like she had to.
Yeah. Which is so interesting in contrast to her upbringing with Satine, because Satine is her sister and Satine went into government.
Yeah.
Whereas Bo was like, I'm going to be the warrior of the family. So it's just really interesting. Like, did Satine, like, to me, it comes off like their father was the warrior and their mother was the politician.
Yeah, well, I think the father was also a lot more like Din. You get the vibes here. He goes, a spectacle of the princess reciting the tenets while my father looked on in pride. And he's like, well, I bet your father was proud. I bet her dad was like actually did like the creed a lot. He was more of a traditional conservative type of Mandalorian. And then he says, I would have liked to have known him. So I bet Din would have gotten along with Mr. What's her last name? Kryze?
Kryze.
Mr.
Kryze.
Mr. Kryze. So she says, he says, I bet you're proud of your, she says that he was proud of her and that he was a great man who died defending Mandalore. And Din loves this. And he's like, this is the way. Hell yeah. Died defending Mandalore.
Yeah, Din's really into that.
They reach the living waters. They read about on the little commemorative plaque about the folklore of the lair of mythosaurs. The mythosaur was adopted as a symbol of their planet because Mandalore the Great tamed the mythosaur. She sees Din has not reacted to any of his words, but instead he's just focused on taking a bath. And he starts taking his stuff off, but sorry, Melissa, we don't get any Din Djarin butt. We don't get any naked Din Djarin here. He decides to go halfway, take his jetpack off and his
He
guns,
decided to take a fully clothed bath. Yeah. Much to
you know what would have been funny if he took everything off.
World.
If he took everything off but his helmet would have been hilarious. Because he can't take it off. Otherwise, what's the point?
I have to imagine that they talked about this in the story group where they were just joking about this. Where they were like, okay, so does he take off his clothes or not? Because if he takes off his clothes, the helmet has to stay.
Yeah. I mean, he was probably embarrassed. He has stage fright in front of Bo-Katan. His future girlfriend, maybe? His future girlfriend?
No. Just because two characters appear in an episode together does not make them ship-worthy. I don't know why fans do this all the time. It's like, oh, these two characters are in an episode together. They must be in love. Like, no.
I don't know. I sensed some sensual vibes. Bo-Katan's getting all hot and bothered, wishing he would have stripped down a little bit more.
If a man like Din Djarin was just stripping down, one would be fascinated by that.
You would love that. Yeah.
Yes.
So she's probably like, this is kind of cute. A single dad who might get naked in front of me. I'm a little interested in dating him and maybe kissing him on the lips if he takes his helmet off for me.
I am not a
No, by the way, no wonder the Mandalorians are dying off. They can't take their helmets off. How do they procreate? How do they kiss? Come on.
I wonder if there's like a series of rules on procreation in Mandalorian culture.
I bet you there is. All right. He gets in there and starts reciting the words of Mandalore, the words of the creed, will be blah, 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 this stupid culty stuff. As he finishes, he walks into as he finishes the thing, he gets sucked underwater. Very similar to A New Hope. Here, Bo-Katan dives right after him immediately. The way she lunges after him is so romantic. She can't bear to see this hot young hunk being sucked under the water. I could say a more raunchy comment here, but I'm not going to.
Yes, we're not going to go there.
Or I could. The only thing she doesn't want to let the beast be the only thing that sucks him under the water. Okay.
Oh my God, gross! What? This is disgusting, dude.
She dives in after him.
Jesus.
Cool moment here. I didn't know their jetpacks worked underwater. That's awesome. She propels down to the bottom, but also super deep. There's a clear drop off here in these waters. I have thalassophobia. I'm terrified of the ocean. This is like just, oh my God, give me so much fear seeing how deep this water goes as she dives in.
Yeah, that definitely went on for way longer than I thought it was going to go. You know, you just think it's like a little pool area or whatever, and then you get down and you're like, oh, nope, this is like 100 feet down.
Yeah, no thanks. And she finds him pretty quick, thankfully. On the way back up, she's with her jetpack, and they pass a giant creature with white horns, whose eyes open as Bo-Katan's helmet illuminates it. It is a mythosaur. A mythosaur, more like a reality-asaur.
Okay. That
Right?
was better than the ketchup and mustard thing.
That was pretty good. More like a truthosaur.
Truthosaur, how did they know her? I think
That's a pretty good joke, dude. It's a reality-asaur.
But it's funny that they named it the Mythosaur.
It's like
what is
what do
it?
they call it?
It's a Mythosaur.
What do they call it in the? I forget what it is. Like Captain America or something. It's unobtainium. No, it's Avatar. Unobtainium. Like what?
Oh
It's
yeah,
like, that's
didn't
like
we,
the mythosaur.
when we went on the Avatar ride, it was one of the described things when you're waiting to go in line, the unobtainium.
Yeah, unobtainium. What? That's not how things get named, dude.
It's so stupid. It's like a 12.
Yeah, the mythosaur is. We have to rename it now. It's the reality-asaur. We know that it's actually real. Actually, reality-asaur doesn't really roll off the tongue, but we'll figure out a better name for it. Cool moment here. That thing looks creepy and scary. They speed away.
Also,
make it to the
kind of
surface.
Phantom Menace-y.
Kind of Phantom Menace-y. They speed up to the top, get on the steps. Din is wheezing and coughing as he revives, and Bo-Katan is having breath as she stares out into the waters, and the episode ends. Question for you.
Go.
How did that mythosaur get back there? So big.
Maybe it was always there.
It's just hanging out.
Yeah, I mean, I
No
don't
one
know.
decided to go that deep in the water. No one went like diving once to go check out the waters.
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's like an antisocial creature. Maybe it wants to be left alone, and it's like it hides under. Maybe it can only breathe underwater. We don't know its species or what it needs to survive. It
I guess
just
we'll
shows
find
up
out
at the
next
most
episode.
convenient plot point.
It's true. Either way, really cool. I was not expecting that. I thought that was awesome. The reality-asaur is back.
So why would
Which
it?
I guess that does give us some insight into next week. I think we'll see it next week. It'll be very similar to season 1 and season 2 with the crate dragon or whatever in season 2, and then the other beast in season 1.
Why would it drag?
Beasts.
Did it drag Din under because it was hostile, or is there some significance behind that?
Yeah, I was wondering that too. I don't know, because it didn't kill him. It just was like, "Hey, come here, buddy," and just pulled him down and like, and just let him go. So
Just dragged him to the bottom, and then.
Well,
Boaz
Din was
go
also
down.
reciting the creed at the time, so I don't know, maybe some kind of signal or something. Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting that the timing of that and everything, and then it having dragged him down to the very, very bottom of the 1,000 feet or however deep that thing went. Interesting.
Yeah.
And we don't know about the mythosaur, so maybe that's something that they will explain in the next episode. But I don't know. Maybe it's been living there all those years. Maybe
I think that's what's on the horizon for these next episode is it's going to be about that a little bit more. Why was Bo-Katan so? I mean, she was obviously very
she was
disturbed by this.
She was like, it's fantasy, because she's been telling Din it is a myth, it is a fantasy. There is nothing magical about it. She doesn't believe it. Clearly, she even like reads it to the little inscription on the rock to Din in the most sarcastic way. She's like,
Yeah.
ha ha ha, this is ridiculous. And you know that meme of Steve Harvey where it's like, like that one?
Yeah.
Somebody posted that on Twitter, and they were like, Bo-Katan making fun of Din for believing in the Mandalorian creed and the mythosaur. And it's like Bo-Katan when she finds out the mythosaur is real.
Yeah. Well, also I was thinking maybe it came back. Maybe it was gone for a while. Maybe it came back. I don't know. We don't know how deep the waters of the mines of Mythosaur
Or do the waters lead anywhere else?
Right. Yeah. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe it came back. Maybe it was gone while the Mandalorians were there, and then it came back because it can have some peace, and there's not people bathing in it all the time, regressing their transgressions or whatever, forgiving their own transgressions.
Yeah,
or
forgiving themselves
whatever.
of transgressions committed against their Mandalorian church.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But top episode. This was really, really good. I thought I've already laid out my thoughts on it. The creativity, the practical effects, the lore behind it, the Star Warsiness of it, the music, the tension, the character building was awesome. Which brings up another point. What were you going to say about little baby Grogu?
Apparently, it's been 2 years since he trained with Luke. According to Jon Favreau.
Something about that. Yeah.
What? Are you kidding me? That it's definitely not the way it was communicated to us. That he was with Luke over a weekend at the most. He was not with Luke.
No, not a weekend. I would say like a month or two.
It felt like a weekend to me. I
could agree with like a year. 2 years is forever. By the way, does that mean Din was just taking the little commuter bus for 2 years? He didn't have a ship for 2 years?
It does not add up at all. It makes no sense. And if that is the case, then they didn't communicate it very clearly. But at the most, I would be willing to say that Grogu was with Luke for a month. He was not with him for 2 years. I refuse to believe that. That was not communicated very well. But I don't believe that in the slightest. Anyway, I digress. The one talking point is obviously Bo and Din have come to a better understanding of each other in this episode, where they're both kind of figuring out how the other person feels, and they're comparing and contrasting their upbringing and their religious beliefs in Mandalorian culture. So one of my questions, I know I brought this up earlier, is Bo going to teach Din, or are they going to be like the two people to unite their cultures?
I think the latter. I think it's actually probably both. They're going to be buddies now, and they're going to start dating. Do-Katan is going to be a thing. No, I think they'll be like buddies now. I think they're going to like team up. They've kind of warmed up to each other a little bit more. They both have questions that the other might be able to help answer. They both have something to offer the other person. Din can obviously learn about Darksaber stuff, and she obviously knows that maybe there is some credence to what he's doing. She does kind of respect his loyalty to his cult.
Yeah.
So I think we'll see them a lot more together, and I think we will see her start to train him a little bit. There's something's going to happen with the Mythosaur, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they'd kill it. PETA would probably be really angry if that was the case. Either way, I mean, I do think we'll see them team up a bit in the next few episodes.
I think they're definitely going to be buddies. I could see something happening where they like are starting to come to an understanding of one another, and then maybe something happens where Bo eventually ends up dueling Din to get control of the Darksaber. I don't know necessarily. There's a lot of potential for this story to go in any direction, but I think that their characters are going to be paired up for quite a bit, and I think honestly they're both going to be the key to uniting Mandalorian culture. I really think that this is where it's headed. I have doubts in my mind. I don't know if Din's necessarily going to become the ruler of Mandalore. I don't know. Like, that's a little unclear to me, and I'm not sure if he'll actually end up on that path. I still think it's more likely for Bo to come back and take control, but they could both rule. But
what are they going to rule, though? What about
Mandalore,
the armor? Why doesn't she rule? Are they going to
save Mandalore? Are they going to clean it up? There's a really good theory going around right now that the armorer used to be a Mandalorian that served under Maul.
Oh.
Like in the Clone Wars, the Mandalorians.
Right. Yeah, which are awesome. Those
with the horns on their head.
Yeah,
she kind of has a little bit of the horn markings on her helmet.
Her armor's sick, and she also have like the cool fur and stuff too.
Well, somebody goes, if the armor used to work for Maul, that would create so much conflict in Din, and not only that, it would piss Bo-Katan off.
Oh yeah.
So if that's the case, that is another interesting story thread that they could bring in from Clone Wars, which would make it very complex and all the more interesting. But as far as it goes, I just think there's a lot of different directions that they could take Bo and Din's relationship, preferably in my case not romantic, because I think it's unnecessary and it's not needed. Every time we see two characters appear in a episode or a scene together, I don't think it's necessarily to ship them. Also, I know everybody forgot, but I still want Din to go back to that woman Omera that he met in that season 1 episode on that very peaceful planet, because I dug that. Oh, yeah. I dug that. It was cute and it was wholesome and it was adorable, and he clearly wanted to stay.
He's going to make Mandalorian babies with Bo-Katan. That's what's happening.
No. no.
I have
no.
decided already. That's what's happening.
You don't get to decide who ends
I do,
up with
and
who.
I have.
No, I am
and I have.
anti-Do-Kajarin or whatever we said. What is he?
That's a good T-shirt idea. Do-Kajarin, and then you have them kissing on the T-shirt.
Do-Kajarin shipper.
All right, should we jump in? We are way over time, but that's okay. Let's jump in to our winner of our question of the week. Our winner this week is named Big Dog. And I'm not joking, that is the user's name. And he writes, are we beginning to see an end to the contentious relationship Bo had with Din? Seems like her attitude towards him changed when she saw him baptize himself. We've already been talking about this. But I think, yes, the contentious relationship is done. There's a mutual respect now. She definitely changed her attitude towards him when she saw him bathe. She got a little hot and bothered. She was like, maybe I should date him now.
Stop it.
And
Stop it.
Do-Kajarin could become a real thing.
No Do-Kajarin. I am anti-Do-Kajarin. I do not want Do-Kajarin, but I do think her attitude changed. I think that there is a respect there in the sense where Din takes the Mandalorian oath very, very seriously. And I think to her that's an honorable thing to respect of anybody. Be like, okay, you take this seriously. That's very honorable. I appreciate that. And I think they're only going to continue to come to a better understanding of each other as the episodes go on, especially with her finally beginning to talk about her past with her father and the Creed and everything being staged and stuff like that. So I do think that her guard is dropping. Yeah,
I would agree with that. So thank you, Big Dog. Love your name. And congratulations on winning a free T-shirt. Just send us an email at anotherstarwarspod@gmail.com with your details, including shirt size, and we'll get that out to you. So congrats on that. That does it for this episode. Big week for Star Wars. We have a Bad Batch breakdown to record.
We do, well. And that was a banger too.
Yeah, huge banger. So if you guys want to see that, make sure like, subscribe, leave your comments here. What did you think of this episode? What did you think of this breakdown? Are you in for Do-Kajarin? Are you supportive of that, or are you not? Let us know in the comments below. Click the notification bell so you are aware when our Bad Batch breakdown episode comes out, because there's a lot to discuss there, and we haven't even scratched the surface yet. And you guys want to be a part of that. So make sure subscribe to us here. Tell your friends, and make sure to check us out on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at @star_wars_pod, and check us out anywhere you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Anchor, Breaker, Google. And leave us a review. It helps us. And I got to get all that stuff out of the way. But that's it for this week, guys. We'll see you next week. And let us know what your theories are as well for next week. What are we going to see? Where's the show going to go? We don't know.
Quick thing. What do you rank it?
This is very good. I'd say 7.8 out of 10. Or out of 10, yeah. What about you?
Yeah, probably around the same range.
That's a high rating.
Roughly. That's
not quite in the 8s for me. Not quite in the 8s, but it was a very strong episode. By the way, 7s and up, actually, even like 6s are like, it's above average. 5 is like very average. 7's like, this is a good, very solid episode. 8's like excellent. And 9 is like, this is the best Star Wars we've ever seen kind of stuff. 10 doesn't really exist, in my opinion. I could never give a full 10, because then you have nowhere to go up from there. But that's kind of how my ranking system works.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I would rank it similarly. It's just fun. I was not expecting to get into Mandalore this quick, and I think that the show is going to be very exciting
cool to
this
see.
Season.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be very exciting because we don't know what's going to happen now. Anything's fair game. I think most of the shots in the trailer is stuff we've already seen, right?
Yep. Most of it now. Order 66 stuff we might get with Grogu.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
So we'll see what happens with that.
Guy.
I can't wait to see where they do with the Camino stuff, the Grogu plot threads, and the connections to Ahsoka, Skeleton Crew, Bad Batch even, maybe, Book of Boba Fett. We will see. It's going to be a good season, and we get to go through it all together. So thanks for joining us, guys. Appreciate you viewing. If you're new and you made it through this whole episode, congratulations. You're amazing. And if you're returning and make it through this episode, thank you for joining us again. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next time on our Bad Batch Breakdown.
Okay.
See you guys later.
We'll see you guys later.
Bye.